A film about a straight-laced detective who falls for a mysterious woman. The central mystery and romance ends in the first half, before it morphs into a more character-based film in the second half, all set to a soundtrack of sharp, violent cues and romantic, yearning themes. Sound familiar? No, I wasn't describing Alfred Hitchcock's classic Vertigo. I was actually describing Korean auteur Park Chan-wook's latest film, 2022's Decision to Leave. Decision to Leave is a film about Hae-jun, who's a detective investigating a man found dead in the mountains. Through the course of his investigation, he starts developing feelings for the dead man's wife, Seole, despite her being a prime suspect in the case. The film premiered to critical acclaim at the Cannes Film Festival, bagging Park a nomination for the Palme d'Or and his first Best Director win. But why is this film receiving such high praise? I'm Jeremiah, and in this analysis, I'll offer a partial answer to that question by taking a look at the mise-en-scène and cinematography of Decision to Leave. Spoilers ahead. One use of the mise-en-scène is how the setting represents the status of the central relationship. For context, the second half of the film takes place a year after the first half in the foggy, small town of Ipo, where Hae-jun has moved with his wife to forget about Seore's case. One day, he bumps into Seore at the market, and learns that she has suspiciously moved into town with a new husband in tow. A few days after this meeting, her new husband is found dead, and she becomes a suspect again. During this section of the film, it is unclear to both the audience and Hae-jun why she has moved to Ipo, and if she is guilty of murder again. The fog in Ipo represents the murkiness of this uncertainty for Hae-jun, as it is preventing him from pursuing a relationship with her again. Eventually, Seore confesses that she only came to Ipo to see him, and another suspect confesses to the murder. With Seore seemingly innocent, the perpetual fog of Ipo suddenly clears the next day, and Hae-jun can bask in the sun's warmth. The fog has lifted, along with any barriers to their relationship. But this moment of clarity is short-lived. Hae-jun soon discovers that the suspect who confessed was manipulated by Seore in order to help her kill her husband, which makes her guilty. He tracks her location to a beach to confront her, only to find that she's mysteriously disappeared. There on the beach, as he frantically tries to search for her, the fog returns, a harsh reminder of how they can never truly be together. Another aspect of mise-en-scène that director Park uses is props and costume design. One example of this is the items surrounding Seore. Her living room is covered with wallpaper that could be seen as either depicting tall mountains or crashing waves of the ocean. She also wears a dress that, depending on which character sees it, can be perceived as either blue or green. This all subtly suggests that everything about Seore is not what it seems. In addition to mise-en-scène, Decision to Leave also features stellar work from cinematographer Kim Ji-young. One example of his work is how he conveys the instant connection of Hae-jun and Seore. Let's compare how Hae-jun's first scene with his wife is shot versus his first scene with Seore. When Hae-jun has a conversation with his wife, it is relatively ordinary, utilizing a conventional over-the-shoulder shot for his wife, while he's framed in a wider shot. This conveys how distant Hae-jun is in his sterile marriage. Contrast that to his first scene with Seore. The scene is shot normally, until it suddenly cuts to a POV shot of both of them. This breaks the fourth wall by making it feel as if the characters are looking right into the audience, placing us in their shoes and making us feel the jarring spark of connection they felt. We can also look at the cinematography of the extended interrogation sequence as another example. At the start of the interrogation, the scene is shot such that there are impossible shifts of focus. Every time a character has dominance in a conversation, the focus shifts to them, demonstrating how their power dynamics constantly shift back and forth. This was achieved via visual effects and a complicated setup. Later on in the same scene, when they take a break and share dinner together, the same room is now flooded with orange evening light, creating a warm and romantic tone, as if they were on a date together. And when the interrogation finally ends, they briefly lean in together to look at a photo on Seore's phone. The moment their hands touch, a cast headlamp shines through the window and illuminates their faces, emphasizing the intimacy of this small action. Another use of cinematography is to highlight subjectivity. The film frequently uses point-of-view shots from Hae-jun, and there are lots of shots that directly reference an outsider perspective, such as shots through cloudy eyes, shots through phone screens, or shots through monitors. These all emphasize the idea that perspective is inescapable and calls attention to how the film's events can be viewed through different lenses depending on who's telling the story. Of course, this is just scratching the surface of Director Park and DOP Kim's incredible work on the film. But putting aside the technical mastery of it, the film as a whole is incredibly riveting and heartbreaking, and I would highly recommend it on that basis alone, especially to other film lovers. It weaves noir conventions and the tropes of noir romances like rules into the world of the film. This metatextual awareness makes the film simultaneously fresh, yet comforting in its familiarity. Despite the tragic ending being expected for a film like this, the real tragedy comes from the inevitability of it, and how this inevitability stems directly from the romance. Haejun and Seore's love, while intoxicating and electric, is also deeply unhealthy. They can only love if they are serving the roles of detective and killer in a perpetual cat and mouse chase. And because of this, their romance is within the confines of a noir, no matter how strong it is or how hard they try to change it. Decision to Leave is a film about love that can only exist in the rigid roles its lovers have to play, where the strongest act of love one can do is give in to their inescapable fate.